And of course, the Amcom list obviously grabbed the headlines recently over the weekend, and of course, most of this week it's been a big talk. And of course, quite a number of energy companies are on that list. First of all, your thoughts on the approach of Amcom and the central bank in making some of these companies come to the table to make good their payments?
Well, I mean, it's not an unusual approach. Before now, the central bank, through the banks, had instituted credit bureaus. And really, it's been a practice that if you are defined in those bureaus as having past due obligation or having debts that are bad, then the banks are typically constrained from doing any additional business with you. Right. What then happens with the Amcom transfer is that a lot of those accounts moved to Amcom do not then show in the credit bureau as bad. Okay, so it is a normal thing what the central bank has done to advise banks to say, look, these are the list of banks that are bad, and these are the list of debtors that are bad in the books of Amcom, and it will be unrealistic to keep on extending credit to them except they make good their debt. I think this approach is quite useful to the industry, and it brings certain credit discipline into the industry. Yeah. And I think it has achieved significantly what it was intended to bring them to the table and then to take Amcom exposure very seriously.
I guess that's the big issue here. Some of these debtors need to take that exposure seriously. If it was with the banks, of course, we will probably have gone through the legal system and trying to resolve these matters. But with Amcom, of course, Amcom has very, very major powers in getting people to do what they want them to do, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, initially when it started, it looked like a transfer to some government enterprise. You know, it looked like a holiday or a debt holiday for these debtors. Now, this move makes it very clear and sends a clear signal that it's not going to be business as usual. Right. And of course, the MD for Amcom has said it will go even further down for exposures above 1 billion and then further down below 1 billion. And I think that is sending significant jitters to the industry. And I think, Wole, that really a lot of these things will have been clearly given an upfront mitigation if our institutions like the law courts and the police have been forthcoming in ensuring that these things are nipped quite early, even while it's with the banks. It's quite a sluggish process going through the law court and quite discouraging for banks to do. And I think that with Amcom's support and activities in the market, it should create some kind of sanity and send clear messages across so that the credit culture, I mean, will kind of be adjusted for the better.
All right, and let's move on to another issue that obviously is impacting energy companies in Nigeria, and that's the decline we're seeing in diesel prices. Some have attributed this to the improvement in power across the country. We know electric power has improved over the last few months. Is that what you attribute this to as well? Because I think some people have contrary views.
Yeah, I have a slightly contrary view. It's true that power has improved slightly, but that is not a major contributing factor, in my opinion, to the fall of diesel prices. I mean, you must have heard in the news crude thefts in the creeks. And what this crude theft stealing does really is that they have all kinds of local fabricated refineries that turn these into various levels of diesel. And this come into the market at prices that are not commercial prices. Because
so that supply is driving down prices?
Yes, that is driving down prices. It's making the formal diesel market very unpredictable and risky, okay, because you have this black market diesel also coming in at prices that are far less than commercial.
All right, so a bad thing is, in a sense, becoming a good thing for manufacturers, because clearly this is a positive for manufacturing industry in Nigeria that depends so much on diesel to power their generators, etc.
Exactly, but it is a bad thing for the country.
All right, well, definitely a fair point there. But let's move on to another issue, which is the power companies. And of course, everybody heralded the sale of power companies, the generation companies recently. We know later this month we're going to move on to the distribution companies. And your thoughts on the outstanding issues there, because there is a view that even the generation companies that have been sold, it's not a closed deal yet, because the government still need to get a few things done to make those deals complete.
Well, the government is working quite hard to do that. One of the things, I mean, the whole issue of power starts from the feedstock, which is gas.
Right.
And we need to tidy up all the gas purchase agreements. And at the other end is the purchase of the power itself, which is tied in by the power purchase agreement.
Yeah.
Now, there's still a lot being done and negotiated on the power purchase agreement. It's our belief that as they move closer, right, some of these issues will be less complex and will be straightened out. But right now, payment is supposed to happen as soon as the sales purchase agreement is signed. Now, the sales purchase agreement is basically the purchase of the plant.
Yeah.
Now, but the plant means nothing as a plant on its own if it cannot sell the power for an economic price and in a way that it is assured of payment. That is exactly what makes the entire sale bankable.
So,
now,
but this is less of an issue for the distribution companies that will be sold later this month, right?
Yeah, it's less of an issue, but think about it. If there are no power purchase agreements, then there will be no power for the distribution companies to sell.
Right.
So it's a value chain that must be dealt with across and properly ring-fenced.